Good day, viewers. Welcome to the FATO Network. We are live here at the National Disaster Management Agency, where we are meeting the Executive Director of the National Disaster Management Agency, Mr. Sanna Dahaba. We are going to be discussing issues surrounding the rainy season, because we know when the rainy season comes, his office is usually very busy with journalists coming in and out. That shows that the people are really concerned about the issues that usually happen during the rainy season. We're talking about flooding, and all the things that are related to these prone flooded areas like Ibo Town. We have NDMA, and so many areas that usually are affected when it comes to the rainy season. Good day, Mr. Dahaba. You're welcome to the FATO Network.
Thank you very much, and you are really welcome.
Thank you very much, sir.
Welcome.
Yeah, so today basically we're going to be talking about the rainy season and everything there is to know about your agency's readiness to tackle some of these issues when they arise.
Okay.
But firstly, I would like to ask you, how prepared are you this year to respond swiftly to any problem with regards to the rainy season in the Gambia?
Thank you very much, the FATO Network. First and foremost, I want to thank the government of the Gambia for creating the enabling environment when it comes to disaster governance in this country. There is a complete paradigm shift when it comes to disaster governance and management. Previously, government was actually concentrating on disaster management, but now the government has shifted to disaster risk reduction, just to make sure that they reduce the impact of disaster on the population. So that's the paradigm shift now the government is actually taking. Disaster is cross-cutting, it's everybody's business, whether it's government, the private sector, or individual. We've all seen recently, globally, disaster has been impacting negatively on the population. The global prediction for this year alone is about 60 disaster events will happen, but in terms of its magnitude and frequency has not been established. These are just predictions, and we have seen recently, even in the sub-region, disaster has been causing serious problem in terms of either being flooding or being windstorm or being fire. We've seen that we have registered disaster around this sub-region, partly because we live in the Sahel region.
Okay, but my question was, how prepared is your organization to respond swiftly?
Okay, this is a government that cares about the welfare of the Gambian people. Many times people complain that NDMA has not been responding swiftly. This is part of the problem associated with that is, can I continue? The problem associated with that is that NDMA relies on dependable, credible, and timely data. It's data that inform our response. It's data that inform policy decision. It's data that inform whatever response that we are going to provide to the people. And data collection is not an event, it's a process. You have to have data to be able to respond to the people. And that data collection is ongoing now. This is why many times you see NDMA, people will complain that NDMA has not been responding swiftly. These are the reasons associated with that response.
Okay. Just a reminder, I would say it is your mandate as the agency responsible for disaster management to sensitize, to sensitize and create awareness in prone communities about initiate actions to prevent response to disaster. So far, have your agency started doing that, particularly this season, to go to prone communities to sensitize them and to also initiate actions to respond to disaster?
You see, as indicated in the JAS report, July, August, and September, Actually the last report indicated that we're going to have rain above normal, slightly above normal. And what happened yesterday also signaled that negative image. You have seen yesterday the flooding around Greater Banjul area. Awareness and sensitization is a continuous thing as far as disaster is concerned. But we all know the biggest challenge, even the government is what the government is actually facing is compliance and enforcement. You know that that's the biggest challenge as far as disaster management and governance in this country is concerned. People are not compliant, they are not adhering to expert advice, and government to a certain extent is not also enforcing. So these are the biggest challenge that the government, as far as my agency is facing in terms of risk reduction in this country.
What is the DAS report?
January, August, July, August, and September.
Okay. What is it all about?
It's all about rain prediction for this year. Just means July, August, and September rain prediction, and it indicates that we're going to have rainy season slightly above normal. And yesterday's rain, as you can see, also signaled that negative image. So many areas have been flooded around Greater Banjul area as a result of primarily compliance and enforcement. These are the principal cause of mostly flooding around Greater Banjul area.
Okay. But let's take it back a little bit in 2022,
Yes.
when the country flooded and some lives were lost as well.
Yes.
What were your recommendations? And as of now, if something like that is going to happen, how do you plan on responding to it?
Well, these are, to a certain extent, some of these are policy decisions. The government has to take certain policy decisions. Example, let me ask you, you've had people settling on Talinding Farokono. What the name implies, is Farokono a settlement? You had people settling at Fajikunda Dinkokono. Dinkokono, what the name implies, is that a settlement? And Bakau Farokono, you had people settling at Bakau Farokono. Is that a settlement? You know, naturally that's not a settlement. Farokono is not a settlement. Dinkokono is not a settlement. You know, is it the government that settled them there? It is by their own choice that they are settling in those areas. You've seen people settling on waterways. The alcalos allocating land to people to settle on waterways. These are constraints that the agency is facing at the moment. This is why we are now working with local government. We're now working with physical planning. We're now working with national road authorities so that we can address such kind of challenges that's facing the agency at the moment.
Was it in your recommendations to evacuate those people?
You see, there has been an NDMA policy. Now that because of such kind of challenges, the NDMA came up with a national disaster management policy that's going to address some of these challenges that we are facing. In relation to that, we are also coming up with a regulation that will enforce our act, that will strengthen our mandate in order to address such kind of situation whenever they arise.
Okay. But then again, people would like to know what are your plans this year for those people that are living in prone areas? Because last time when the disaster happened, I mean, I think you were out with the late vice president,
yes.
And you went to, you know, some of these areas that were flooded and affected. What were your findings? And it's been 2 years now since that happened.
Yeah.
What has been done?
Okay, we realized that especially those settling on Kotu stream, we have about 210,000 people.
That's a lot.
That's a lot affected by flood when it comes to, that's the impact on the population. As of now, government is actually working with the World Bank to address the issue of Kotu. The work has started, and I'm sure by next year you will see a different thing when it comes to flooding around Kotu area.
What work has started? Is it visible? If I visit there, would I be able to see any ongoing work?
Well, you can see if you go around this year, the work up West Africa coastal erosion has already provided pumping machine. We provide 34 pumping machines to communities living around that area. And the local government with physical planning and another agency has undertaken a study for people who are settling on those areas. And now in long will come after the rain, you will see some people been evacuated along the stream. I'm sure that will reduce the impact on the population.
Okay.
Yeah.
So aside people living in wetlands or flood-prone areas, what are other factors that you think contribute to flooding?
Yeah, flooding it can either be man-made or natural. But in the Gambia, I can tell you that 98% of flooding in this country could have been avoided. Adequate drainage system in this country is, that is a problem. Urbanization we are putting pressure, so much pressure on the greater Banjul area. We all come from the provinces. That also a problem. Unregulated settlement, people settling on waterways, ways. That's a problem in this country. Heavy infrastructural development. We've seen recently government is doing a lot of infrastructural development that also contribute to disaster. We all know that disaster creates development, and development also creates disaster to a certain extent, and that's what we are facing at the moment.
Okay, so would you say around Costa Road, I saw when it rained the last time, I saw a video on TikTok. There's this guy that was showing that place, the water was not running, it was stagnant.
Yes.
And he was like, this will remain like this as long as the rainy season is here, because the water has no way to pass.
Yes.
Like there are no proper drainage systems around these roads. Do you think that could be a major problem?
Well, I wouldn't say there is no proper drainage system, but like what I said, development anywhere in the world always create disaster, and disaster also create development.
Yeah, but as an expert, you've seen how the road is constructed.
Yeah.
Do you think there is
I
proper
think
drainage?
the Batin Harding Highway for this year is a test case because unless it rains, you wouldn't know the areas that are flooded. As far as we are concerned, we are really monitoring the situation. We are monitoring the flooded area as a result of Batin Harding Highway. I cannot say for certain it was caused by the waterlogging was caused by flooding. It can have it can be associated with different things. But the agency and the National Road Authority, we are constantly monitoring to make sure that those that are flooded, how best we can link them to waterway, so that we can link them to the exit.
Okay. So along the Greater Banjul area, we have some drainage, the drainage, especially around Churchestown and all. Usually when it's flooded, the water, it's difficult for the water to pass through. So the drainage system around KMC, who's responsible?
Well, the drainage, we all know that drainage is National Road Authority. They are the ones who contracted road. They are the ones that are managing road. Those one on the highway, I do understand that NRA is responsible for that. For the feeder road, I was told that the council is responsible for that. And then I can see some activities going on. They are cleaning the drainage system. I think what has been the missing link, they clean them, leave them, and when it rains, it goes back to the canal. I think they need to improve on that. As soon as the drainages are clean, let them collect it so that it will not go back to the
I just needed that to be clear, because I read comments a lot, and the NDMA always comes up when it comes to this drainage system that you're partly responsible as well. So I just wanted to make
we are not responsible for drainage system. We are not an infrastructural development agency. We are responsible for disaster. The impact of what happened, that's what we are responsible for. Okay,
so lastly, before we wrap up, what would you say to critics that your agency only acts when there is disaster, but aside that, you're hardly seen on board working to ensure that certain things like this
but because they only see response. As far as NDMA through the government of the Gambia is concerned, we have done several interventions last year. If you can recall, previous year we had almost more than 50,000 people have been affected. But last year, you hardly hear the number of people that were affected, principally as a result of government's intervention. We've seen what happened, the engineering work that happens at Jabang. We've seen what we did in Banjul. Not a single disaster victim was reported in Banjul last year because we cleaned Grand Street, we dredged it and linked it to the bond folder. As a result of that, not a single person, as far as this office is concerned, reported that they've been affected by disaster. Come to Basse, Sambatako, Jiroba, we did a lot there as far as the government is concerned, just to reduce, as like what I told you, we are not focusing on disaster management, we are focusing on risk reduction. This has been the measure. And also we engage through the IOM, International Organization of Migration, we engage the returnees to clean certain areas like Ibo Town, Bakau, Brikama Jambal, Sana. Last year we cleaned almost 1 kilometer at Brikama 2 kilometers at Brikama Jambal, Sana, Ibo Town and Bakau. That reduced the risk and vulnerability of this of the population as far as disaster is concerned.
Okay. So swiftly before we end this, the JAS report you mentioned.
Yes.
So what amount of rain are we expecting, and is it going to be a good season for the farmers? Because if the rain is too much, I think sometimes the farmers find it very difficult.
Well, it depends on what crops you are going. Sometimes it has positive and negative, because some of the farmland might be flooded as a result of excessive rainfall. Some of them it may be good for them. Those who are on upland, but as far as the JAS report is concerned, we are expecting up to 1,000 millimeters of rainfall this year. Previously, it has been 750, 9 to 800, but this year, the prediction is just a prediction.
Okay.
Sometimes you don't predict nature. These are just scientific calculation. We are expecting that we may have up to 1,000 millimeters of rainfall this year.
Okay. So what are the challenges that your agency faces when it comes to being responsive and intervening? Yeah,
sometimes the challenges that the agency faces is compliance issue, like I highlighted. Enforcement by physical planning for people who are settling on waterway. These are visible challenges that the agency is facing. Thirdly is resources. We all know that when disaster happens, you need to, the humanitarian principle is saying that you need to respond within 48 hours, but hardly because of resources to collect data on time, so that will give you a policy-informed decision to take action on responses. Sometimes it's a big challenge as far as the agency is concerned, because disaster data collection is not an event, it's a process, and it's because of this data that the government needs to take the right decision to respond to the needs of the people. Sometimes the timely collection is also a challenge.
All right. So before we wrap up, is there anything you would like the public specifically to know about this season before we wrap up?
Well, yesterday I went around. I think what I saw yesterday is not pleasing. We've seen children playing in some of these waterlogged, and we can have public health challenges. Most of these waters, we all know, especially around Ibo Town, where the water table is low, and we have sewage system. We can have the water is contaminated. I think I need to advise the public to make sure that let them avoid their children, keep away their children from playing in this waterlogged, because like Aki, scientific result has shown that the Aki is partly associated with flood water. So they can advise children not to play in this water. The other one is when it starts raining, you can see thunderbolt. We've seen lightning and thunderbolt killing people. They make sure that people need to be vigilant, and they need to be sensitive to those, so that they avoid children playing in open field.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Dahaba, for giving us the opportunity to talk to you about this very important season. Thank you very much, viewers, for listening to this insightful interview. Until we come your way, I've been Jacqueline Colley and Mr. Sanna Dahaba here. Thank you very much for watching, and bye.